Well, thank you for sticking with us and discussing this very important topic of comprehensive immigration reform. I'm really delighted with the opportunity to discuss this. Has such a big impact on families and communities and neighborhoods, of course, not only here in Chicago, but around the country and, of course, around the world. And our guests are people who are practicing in this area nationally, and, of course, their clientele come from all across the world. My next guest is Scott Pollock of Scott Pollock and Associates, and his practice is in this arena, and I think he has some additional insights that we are delighted to have him here today and to take time away from his practice to discuss this. Scott, tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, we have an office in downtown Chicago. We have what I call a small law firm of 5 lawyers. We represent employers, businesses, but we also represent individuals who are seeking to come to the United States or stay in the United States, and foreign nationals who work for the employers and who are building families and lives here from other countries.
And like your friends that have been on earlier, I'd like to ask you, you've probably heard this call for comprehensive immigration reform coming and coming and coming and coming. Is it really coming this time? Do you think this is the time that it might actually get done? Do you think something is different about the conversation as you see it right now?
Well, I think that we're closer than we have been in a long time. We have a bill that's been passed by the Senate, S-744. It is now up to the House of Representatives to push its own agenda forward. It's really difficult to say right now, and I'm of completely 2 different minds depending on the moment that you ask me, whether I'm optimistic or very pessimistic or skeptical about what's happening. They say that laws are like sausage. You don't want to see them being made, and unfortunately we're close observers to this process that's unrolling, and it's not always pretty. It seems day to day that there's a lot of the usual sort of inside the beltway arm wrestling, and I don't think anybody can tell you how it's going to turn out, but we do remain optimistic. This is something that America needs to get done. It's had many years to work out a lot of its problems, but now is the time to really move some agenda forward to take care of the conditions that are really untenable at this point.
Do you have a fair amount of clients that are small and medium-sized business?
Yes, we do. We represent manufacturers, we represent financial companies, we represent some technology companies on the smaller end, a lot of mom and pop shops who are hiring professionals that they need to make their processes more efficient and become more profitable.
When you talk to owners of those enterprises, CEOs, people in charge of running the business, people in charge of the HR department, what are the things that are most on their minds right now in this time of fluidity of comprehensive immigration reform?
I think they want to make the process easier than it has been. They are facing situations where they're trying to hold on to highly skilled employees who have been with them, who have proven themselves as being sort of innovative and able to help the employers create other jobs. But everybody is frustrated, from the employers, from the management side. We have a system which has come to be termed the culture of no. We have an administrative agency or several administrative agencies involved in the immigration process. U.S. Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Department of Labor, and the rules they're really outdated, and the interpretations of the rules have made it very, very difficult for employers to obtain and retain the talent that they need in order to take their businesses to the next level.
Again, there's a lot of talk about, top down, the Washington policy, the people advocating for strategic change. But in the halls of the bureaucracy, in the guys that are with the rubber stamps and passing the stuff along, do they have that same sense that this thing really could change and should change for the better because they see the frustration on your face and the face of your clients?
I think that the people who work within the government are generally well-intentioned, and they are trying to apply the laws as they understand them. But when it comes to, it sort of highlights why we need changes coming out of Washington at this point. We need to make it easier for companies to attract people who are going to help the economy. And it doesn't really help anybody when an employer in good faith attempts to work through the system, spends perhaps thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses and filing fees to bring someone who they've identified as a critical person, and only to find that because the government interprets the laws in a particularly restrictive manner, that they are stuck, they're denied, they've lost all of their effort, and they've lost their employee as well.
Now this obviously means something because a lot of talk, of course, is the fact that companies today may find their competitors from anywhere on the planet. So this is really a question of global competitiveness. It was one time when these great sea of talent came to the United States for education or for a variety of reasons, and this was the best game in town. But that's not necessarily the case anymore, is that correct?
That's absolutely not the case, and it's a great point. It's one of the things that we have to recommend the Senate bill. It does contain provisions which would encourage the best and brightest to come to the United States and stay in the United States.
Are universities, what role do they play in this process? Because of course they're the great landing pad for at least these the young people that are in school and in talent and in these STEM careers. What role do they play in helping to facilitate, or they just say, hey, it's not my job, I educate them now, what happens after that is on somebody else's shoulder?
No, not at all. The universities play a key role in the immigration system and debate. International education has been a growth industry over the last decade. It's really been booming, and they are really training the future leaders of the world. It's a frustration to the international educators to see how difficult it is for their graduates to integrate into the United States after graduating. The problems that we were just talking about, of restrictive policies and restrictive interpretations of the laws, impact the students, the graduates, as much as anybody. The caps on H-1B visas keep very talented people from remaining in the United States after they graduate. The backlogs in the employment-based visa categories have become absurd, and immigration lawyers working with companies have to basically jerry-rig solutions all of the time to keep them in lawful status in the United States. So it's a very onerous system, and educators and universities, they want to continue to attract the best and brightest students in the world, and they want, part of their mission is to help ensure a future career for them.
So it seems like that there is a lot of pent-up economic opportunity that could be unleashed through an enlightened immigration policy. If this activity was less onerous and less costly to employers, a lot of people, I guess maybe some Americans think, well, that's just going to allow foreign workers to come in and undermine the cost structure, because we do see a great exacerbation between pay grades across different skill sets. But it sounds like there is a bigger opportunity that all of this talent, like was mentioned earlier, could really help our job creation engine. And these creatives and idea people and technical people could really start and found. In fact, when we look at who has actually founded some of our technology companies, when we think of Silicon Valley or Boston or here in Chicago, a lot of them are people that have benefited from your process, that have been the ones who have been the most productive at founding and starting and establishing companies that have created a lot of jobs on these sides of the shores.
Without a doubt. Many of the most important technology companies over the last generation have been founded by foreign nationals. High percentage of patents that are issued by the patent office have as the patent holder or a key person in obtaining the patent people from around the world. It is something that we should be nurturing. As far as the benefit to the economy goes, the Congressional Budget Office has estimated that passing a comprehensive immigration reform bill will reduce the deficit by $1 trillion over the next 20 years, and that it will add to the GDP. There are very few credible critics among economists who are saying this is a bad idea for America.
So let's talk about, in the time that we have left, some of the things that just seem like they make a whole lot of sense. When we talk about green cards, when we talk about H-1B, when we talk about the process and some of the systems that are currently rolling along, can you just describe maybe just a few areas where there's really a clear-cut approach to how these things could be improved and done better so that everyone could benefit?
Well, as an example, each year we have allotted 85,000 H-1B visas. There are 65,000 available for people with bachelor's degrees or above, and then there's an additional 20,000 cap for people who have master's degrees or higher level degrees from an American educational institution. In the last quite a few years, the H-1B cap has been reached, and people have been shut out. Now, in this past year, when the fiscal year process came about, they received more new H-1B petitions in the first few days than there were under the cap. And what the Immigration Service does in that situation is they open it up to a lottery. They take all of the ones that were received before a certain date, before the date closes. And
so it's the luck of the draw.
It's the luck of the draw.
So let's talk about a quick fix. What's a fix right there on that?
Well, one is to raise the levels of H-1B visas, and that is part of the Senate bill. That would be advisable because it creates more certainty in terms of being able to plan your workforce, plan for projects, and that would make a lot of sense.
In terms of on the administrative side and some of the things that add to the paper weight of all of this, are there some quick ideas that could reduce the administrative burden, or just moving through the process as it exists? What could cut some of that red tape?
Well, it is a big job to track people's status in the United States, and it would, I think, make sense to provide people with an easier path to lawful permanent resident status so that they are not having to continually renew their temporary statuses. That would make a lot of sense. And again, the Senate bill would free up certain workers in ways that they are not able to move towards a lawful status now. There are some new categories that have been proposed where we would for the first time, create a point system, a merit-based point system, where people could qualify for green cards based on certain factors, their educational level, their ties to the U.S., certain skills that they have.
Can you think of any other area of law or the U.S. economy where something so needed and so complex could actually happen within a short period of time? Does this have to be unbundled in order for this to actually move through, or do you feel that because there is enough attention on this right now that we can get comprehensive immigration reform and the time is right, just like we did what we had to do to get some health care out the door? Can we do what we have to do to get immigration out the door?
Well, I think it can happen if there's the political will to do so. It is an interconnected problem. The issue of undocumented people in the United States and what to do about them, and many of them are occupying certain industries that, frankly, I don't think that there has been the political will to go after or enforce the laws and deport 11 million people.